So uninformed, misinformed patient. The first anecdotal, or only anecdotal, approximately 10 years ago, I suppose my introduction to all these kind of issues was when I discovered this small lump on my hand and sort of wondered what the hell that was. Went online, this is just before Google became sort of a public resource, so searched online, and from the best information I could find, this was a ganglion. So I went to see my GP. Brief conversation with my GP. I said, I think I've got a ganglion. GP says, okay, how do you know that? So I searched the internet. Right. What did the internet say? I says, you're the doctor. I don't want to outsmart my GP. But so that was a basic introduction. I would like to open my talk with two real-life contrasting case studies. You've heard my background, so I shall talk briefly about that for a few minutes and then move on to a wider situation. Whilst I'm not a lawyer, for legal reasons, I can only discuss information that's already in the public domain in this regard. So briefly look at the same situation, two cases, two drugs, very same rare disease. There was nothing on or under the table for 80 years until 2001. Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, or CJD, is an extremely rare fatal neurodegenerative condition that leads to rapid decrease of mental function and movement. It's been known about since the 1920s, but nothing really happened until circa 10 years ago. It wasn't until the advent of BSE, bovine spongiform encephalopathy, in the 1980s and the discovery of variant CJD around 1996 that CJD was much more widely known about. It affects less than 1 in a million people globally. Due to the rarity and other diseases in the same situation, there's no interest from pharmaceutical companies. So in our case, ordinary families have pushed for potential treatments. The average duration of all forms of CJD at best is approximately 4-6 months after diagnosis. Two cases. Case one, a young lady called Rachel Forber from England, diagnosed in the summer of 2001, age 20, duration of disease 6 months. Case two, Jonathan Sims, diagnosed in October 2001, age 17, duration of illness 10 years. In the case of one, Stephen Forber, the patient's father, searched the internet looking for potential treatments. Nothing out there apart from a drug called quinacrine, which was being largely touted by Professor Stanley Prusiner, a Nobel laureate. Quinacrine is an anti-malarial drug, but with regards to prion disease, only in vitro experiments have been carried out. But despite that, it went straight into clinical trials without any in vivo work, which I find a bit bizarre. Media reports at that time, Daily Mail possibly, I don't know, suggested a miraculous recovery. Reports headlines ran with CJD Britain cured. For almost a decade, hundreds of CJD patients across the world were enrolled into clinical trials in 4 countries, despite the fact that, other than some in vitro studies, no scientific evidence suggested any efficacy with regards to quinacrine for this disease. All 4 studies subsequently concluded in 2007 there was no efficacy in any patients. That's case one. I was going to quote a very badly quoted comment I've got in a book there, but it's not really relevant having thought about it. Case two, Don Sims, patient's father of Jonathan. Case two, electrician based in Belfast, searched the internet, same as case one. Couldn't find a cure, but discovered a small group of compounds that had demonstrated efficacy in vitro, but importantly also in vivo, in contrast to case one. Such studies have been carried out for over 20 years. The main candidate's a drug called pentosan polysulfate, or PPS. The molecular weight and size of PPS is too great to permeate the blood-brain barrier, so it has to be infused directly into the patient's brain. This kind of methodology of drug delivery is not new, but in this situation it was. Don, the father, spent month after month, not minutes, searching, researching, making contact with all the scientists in the particular field before reaching a decision on behalf of his son and family. A quote from Don, BBC Breakfast News, "I'm not a gambling man, but even if I were, I wouldn't gamble with my son's life." Don had, I was going to swear, totally searched the whole situation. He didn't just click online and make a decision. Everything was in place, ethical approval, neurosurgeon, clinicians, plug was pulled at the last minute for political reasons. Don took the case to the High Court, won a battle, treatment commenced. One of my tasks as a Vice Chairman of the Human BSc Foundation was to maintain their website with the assistance of 2 friends, put our monthly newsletters online, provide as much information that we could find with the help of scientists in the field, and as a result, in the space of a year, traffic has increased by 5,000%. So getting as much information online was very important. Due to the events of Case 1, as an organisation, we naturally treated with much caution reports that emerged suggesting Jonathan's condition, Case 2, had stabilised. And there had been small but significant improvements in his condition. However, over the years since that point, it was hard to pretend that this case and the ones that followed were not of major significance. Again, in my further reading notes on the website, there's a link to a very important paper, The Remodelling and Regulation of Postmodern Innovation in Medicine, Professor David Price, Medical Law, Leicester University. The outcome of patients in the category of Case 2 are also well documented in this field of science, providing valuable input to others. I would contend that in Case 1, patients in that situation were either uninformed and or misinformed, whereas in Case 2 they were informed. In summary, patients and their advocates are floundering without access to real science data to guide them in such situations. So, some questions. If you have any water there, please. Yes. Question 1, is allowing members of the public free access to peer-reviewed scientific, technical, medical manuscripts a good thing? Question 2, if not, why is it wrong to allow lay people access to the literature? Question 3, should publishers charge taxpayers to access research largely, but not always, funded by taxpayers? Question 4, open access is surely beneficial for GPs, is it not? Do you agree or disagree? Question 5, would a GP prefer to be handed nothing, media reports, abstracts, or full-level articles? From my experience, over the years, the entities such as Open Access, Public Library of Science, PubMed Central, etc., play a crucial role in helping to inform patients and e-patients. In terms of the misinformed patient, they might solely have found media reports online, Daily Mail. I guess the Daily Mail, I don't know. Drug A may do B to disease C. There might be no hard science behind such statements. As per the bio, etc., motor neuron disease, etc., is one of the things that I look at present. Patients like me, I've been very keen to see what's happening there for about 4 years. In terms of motor neuron, just under 9,000 members. It's good for community discussion, collecting and sharing data, patient outcome. I started a thread about this event today, got a couple of comments, including very cool steel. It seems to me you could easily spend your 10 minutes speaking about patients like me as it answers their very question. Why can't health-related data be presented in a way that will help and truly inform the patient? Patients like me does that, and more. Keep us posted, Mr. Marshall. Do so. Has anybody heard of Clay Shirky? Thank you. From Cognitive Surplus. Patients Like Me offers lots of interesting tools for sharing, but the sharing itself is a human characteristic, not a technical one. Patients benefit from feeling and being connected, from sharing their worries and pain, as well as their observations and symptoms. And researchers benefit from having the largest group of patients with chronic and rare diseases ever assembled. Patients Like Me is opening up the knowledge of how to combine. It makes patients and researchers together and making more material available for recombination. It may yet fail, but if it succeeds, it will change the culture. In fact, it doesn't change the culture, it can't succeed, because the cultural norm that opposes sharing medical data will keep it from working.